Well, I guess Avengers 5 is something that we haven't really been talking about on this YouTube channel with the Phase 4 Rewatch videos, but it's something that has been up in the air ever since the whole Jonathan Majors drama, which we're not going to really touch upon here. All to say is that Avengers 5 is no longer called the Kang Dynasty officially, but there are still rumors going around that Kang will be a part of it. There are also new rumors, though, going around that this will be just a more ensemble cast. I believe there was a rumor going around that said something like 60 MCU characters will be reprising their roles. So it's not entirely clear whether Avengers 5 will be a smaller scale kind of Avengers film, doesn't seem like it, or if it'll still be a huge, epic kind of Infinity War level Avengers film. It's almost like comparing it to, is this going to be an Age of Ultron with, yes, it's big in scope and it's epic and everything like that, but still kind of self-contained to about 10 Avengers, or is this going to be an Endgame Infinity War situation? It looks like we're leaning towards the latter, even though it doesn't look like this film is going to be as pivotal to the story of the multiverse saga anymore. We'll see about that, though. But Avengers 5 was always going to come. And again, I mean, the MCU is going through a bit of a trial phase right now where Kevin Feige finally has his authority back. It looks like quality control is going to be a big thing moving forward. Deadpool and Wolverine looks like it's going to kickstart that. And then you got Captain America Brave New World, which is hopefully going to be another successful hit after, undergoing a lot of reshoots and rewrites. Thunderbolts also looks like it's promising. We'll talk about Blade. We'll definitely talk about Blade later on in this video, in this podcast. But, the Fantastic Four looks promising. They look like they're excited about Agatha. So a lot of different things going on about, MCU right now. But Avengers is their brand, right? Avengers is the thing that will get people to come watch their properties. And so it's interesting that they are going to continue on with Avengers 5 while still kind of being nebulous about what their overall story is with the multiverse saga. We'll see what it ends up being, whether or not it's super connected to Secret Wars, or if it's just sort of more of a kind of a team-up movie, which I still think is fine. Like, if it's not really leading up to Secret Wars and it's more just sort of a standalone Avengers film, that's great, because I've been maintaining we need to see some of these characters outside of their little pockets of the universe. I'm talking about your Eternals and your Werewolf at Nights by Nights and your Moon Knights and She-Hulks and all these different other characters that have just sort of been isolated into their little corners of the MCU thus far. So really excited about that. One actor that I think we would have all guessed would be one of the returning Avengers to the ensemble, but also probably one of the leading Avengers is Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange. And in fact, I might have even guessed that we would have gotten a Doctor Strange film, a third one, before Avengers 5, although maybe now that's going to happen between Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. But, I mean, just the setup between him and Clea at the end of Doctor Strange 2, although we could have a whole separate discussion about the end credit scenes these days in the MCU and how they're not really leading to anything anymore. That being said, though, Doctor Strange was definitely always going to be one of the characters that was going to appear in the next Avengers film. And Benedict Cumberbatch has all but confirmed that by going on an interview. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he said basically, I'm really excited to get started on Avengers next year. So yeah, I mean, in terms of news, this isn't really newsworthy in the sense that Benedict Cumberbatch is returning as Doctor Strange for the next Avengers film. Maybe it's an indication, maybe it's a very strong indication here that Doctor Strange 3 will not be happening before Avengers 5. So if that's something that, if you thought that it was going to take the February 2026 slot in front of Avengers 5 in May of 2026, then perhaps this is confirmation that is not going to happen. But also, I think the biggest piece of news out of this little quote here is that Avengers 5 is still on track. So despite everything that's been going on, and despite the struggles of the MCU, and the fact that all these different characters have really not been meeting up and have not, had reasons to team up with one another, they're still going to be in an Avengers film, we think. Doctor Strange will be, but we'll see about the rest of them. But also that it seems like it is on track for that May 2026 release date, which I even thought was in jeopardy for a while, because if you remember, I think it was Avengers 5 was going to be next year, May 2025. And I think Secret Wars was actually going to be November 2026. So it's kind of crazy or November 2025. So it was kind of crazy to think that at Comic-Con a couple years ago, we would have gotten both Avengers films next year, I think, which is crazy to think about. But anyways, yeah, I mean, there's, definitely a lot to chew on there. But, one thing to think about here is that, yes, it looks like Avengers 5 is going to be on track for its May 2026 release date. Again, whether or not this is going to be a straight lead-in to Secret Wars, or whether it's going to be sort of just another building block towards the end game of the Multiverse Saga, no pun intended, we'll have to see. But it looks like everything is on track for an Avengers 5 film in 2026. So that is pretty exciting.